Hello, 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 world. Hope Period 5 is doing well. I am continuing some slides today, so we'll go through those. I'll set you up on those last couple of slides and explain what you got to do for work, and that's about it. So you have noticed since the last time we met, I'm mixing it up a little bit, but not crazily. I feel like the slides are great. I feel like gives me a chance to break down the information for you, gives you a nice little thing to do at the end every time and turn in so the world knows that you're working hard. And then after every few slideshows, a nice quiz. That's a good way to do it, but I'm just adding that one extra thing in there so we can get more grades quicker and they're not too difficult. And those are Ed puzzles. I love Ed puzzle. I know teachers have been using it. I think you guys are familiar with it. Bradshaw's been telling me it's great for a while now, and I just never really checked it out. We were forced to do a professional development on it. Forced, but forced. Yeah, it was required, and I did it, and I think it's really cool. So I did it a couple times. I've actually been helping my son with his science work while we're homeschooling. He's in fourth grade, and I've been making little Ed puzzles for him, and they're really helping him. So I dig Ed puzzle. So we're going to be doing this kind of like we did. If you saw, we did the old growth forest slides, and then the next time we met, I gave you an Ed puzzle. I graded that. As you can see, it's already graded. And now we'll be doing another set of slides and a little bit of work. And then the next time we meet, we'll do an Ed puzzle based on these slides, and so on and so forth. Okay. So, slides, Ed puzzle. So I will be live for the slides, of course, as usual. Not that you guys are actually using the live for anything useful, which is okay. You guys are popping on and checking the video out, so I appreciate that. As long as you're getting work done, I got no problem. As far as that goes, there are a lot of beginning of the fourth cycle drop-offs. I hate to say that. I know everybody has a tough time. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got everything, a lot of stuff going on. But they're coming after you, the administrators, all right? And they're doing that because they care about you. So I'm filling out spreadsheets for people that didn't do work and that have zeros, and the administrators are going, because just like everybody, right? They work hard, we work hard, but there is some boredom that sets in while you're stuck at home like this for days at a time and weeks at a time. And they are also finding them board spells, and they are using them to make sure you guys are on the right track, right? And that includes checking your grades, and includes checking my classrooms and my lectures and my my work, and checking your work, and just keeping an eye on everything to make sure, in not in a bad way, in a good way, because they care about you and they don't want anyone to put themselves in a position at the end of the school year where somebody starts arguing about grades or this or that. So we're all trying to take care of you guys. But if there's zeros there, that's a problem. So like I said, I'm filling out a spreadsheet that goes to the administrator. The administrator going to be calling your house. Just keep doing your work. I'm not giving you too much work at all. I think I'm doing a good job at that. If I'm not, let me know. I know some teachers may be putting more work on you. I think that's ironed itself out. If you feel like you got something going on, get in touch with an administrator or something that, if there's a problem with a certain teacher or whatever, or too much work or this or that. All right. Don't want to stress you, but want to give you work. So nobody can ever say anything to us, right? We've been doing what we're supposed to do. So that's the way it's going to go. Ed puzzles, like Ed puzzles. Ed puzzles are here. I'm going to use them for a while now. All right, let's go to the slides. So I posted the slides about 20 minutes ago. So let's take a look at them. We are talking about on slide 1, how forests are managed. We need to manage forests like we need to manage anything. Forest management is very, very important. You need to, we need lumber. We need wood for many things. Some people cook and heat their homes with it. We use it for construction purposes. So forests, we need to cut trees down. That's not a bad thing. Everyone hears cutting down and they jump to deforestation and destroying and atmosphere and carbon dioxide and global warming. Yes, yes, that is true. That happens, and that's horrible. But like anything, we can do things in a responsible way when it doesn't come down to dollars and cents and it doesn't come down to greed and it comes down to sustainability. We can absolutely get the wood we need for construction, heat, house, whatever. We can get that wood and harvest that wood and, yes, cut down trees to get that wood in a responsible way where we don't destroy forests forever and all that other stuff. If you've ever seen that Dr. Seuss movie, The Lorax, right? That's always what comes to mind when I start talking about this kind of thing, because The Lorax was a story. You check it out. It's probably on Netflix. You're bored enough. About how a guy got greedy and cut down all the trees to make this product he was making, and eventually there was no forest, right? And then he couldn't make his product because there was no forest and there were no trees growing back, and everybody suffered and blah blah blah. Well, we can manage forests and we can do it in a proper, responsible manner, and that's what this is about. All right. Now, one thing just to set it off before we start. There is one way, right? And nature manages forests as well without our help, right? And you should be thinking more like forest fires, right? That helps to clear out some of the old growth and things like that. And we, as you know, because I think we talked about this beginning of the year, we have these things called controlled burns, where we actually burn down parts of the forest for good reasons in order for new growth and new things to happen. We are not talking about fires yet. Fires get their own slideshow, and that's the next one we're going to do. So we're not talking about forest fires. We're talking about other ways that forests are managed. All right. So, if you're thinking forest fires, we burn it. Yes, we do, but that's next time. Let's chill with that. All right. Slide 2 is the agenda. You can look at that at your leisure. Slide 3 is the objectives, and the objectives state that you will be able to describe what is meant by forest management, and you'll be able to recognize the role played by national forests in land usage. Okay. Slide 4. So, what is it? Forest management. It involves carefully applied harvesting of trees with their replacement in mind, rather than allowing any type of lumbering. All right. Lumbering is what you're thinking of. Big, huge machines. Wham, cut down the trees. Let's make money. Cut down, cut down, cut down, cut down, cut down. Don't care about what we leave behind and what we're doing behind and what animals we knock out and all this other stuff. Right. That's lumbering. Lumberjacking. But forest management involves carefully applied harvesting of trees. Harvesting of trees means cutting them down, harvesting them for wood and for things, right? But carefully applied with thought, which we'll talk about, and also with their replacement in mind. We need to use this wood as a renewable resource. We can't destroy plots of land where wood cannot grow anymore, right? So that's a problem. So that's what forest management is all about. Slide number 5. So these slides, there's a lot of sort of definitions, all right? I'm going to break them down, but they're very self-explanatory when you look at the title of the topic or the word itself. So one way forests are managed is this thing called clear cutting, right? Clear cutting can be used to mimic a natural fire. So all the trees in a small area would be removed to create a big open field that will quickly sprout grasses and forage for animals. Right. And then they give you an example of the redwood forest. So since redwoods grow best in open sunlight and sprouts from its own stirrups, which mean, or its own stumps rather, it is an ecologically friendly way to manage redwoods in numerous forests like the redwood. So they sprout from their own stumps. If you've ever seen that, excuse me. Have you ever seen that before, where somebody cuts something down and you see it sprouting back up? A lot of weeds do that and stuff. Let's have redwoods do it. They will grow from their own stumps, right? So clear cutting would be saying, okay, we're in a huge, massive forest. We're going to take 2 acres of this forest and we're going to cut it all down, all of it. And we're going to use the wood that we can use from the big old trees, and we're going to make lumber from it, and we're going to cut everything down. We're going to leave the stumps there, like in the ground. We're not going to dig the stumps out of the ground. Just like grass. You cut grass, it grows back, that kind of thing, right? So they'll do that, and grasses and shrubs will start to grow because there's this big open patch where sunlight is hitting and all the weather and all the water and everything else, and there's no big trees blocking it. The redwoods that you've cut down will sprout again, and you have this clear cut area, and it will come back. That's that whole succession thing we talked about when we talked about old growth forests last time. All right, so that's one way. Seed tree harvesting is another way. Now, seed tree harvesting is kind of like clear cutting, all right? But look at the word seed tree, right? Except that a few healthy trees are left standing to naturally reseed the area. So clear cutting, cutting everything down, right to the stumps, all the way down, and letting everything grow back, right? Seed tree harvesting says, let's cut it all down, but we're going to leave that big tree over there. We're going to leave that medium tree over there. We're going to leave one tree over there. So they leave these single trees in sporadic places. And because they're there, that's what seeds do, or that's what trees do. They seed, right? They drop their seeds and more trees. That's nature. So the seed tree harvesting would be leaving a couple trees randomly displaced over here and there, and they will naturally reseed the area. So you have your stumps growing back. If you're redwoods, in different types of forests where they don't grow from stumps, you leave some trees around and they drop their seeds and will grow from that. All right, so that's seed tree harvesting. Slide 6 is called shelter wood harvesting. Now, again, shelter wood, turn it around, wood used for shelter, right? So think about that when you look at the definition here. So shelter wood harvesting, what that does is that leaves enough trees standing to provide protection and shade for the delicate new seedlings that have been planted on the site. When young trees have grown, the older trees are removed. Okay, so shelter wood is a way where we say, okay, we're going to cut down this area, right? The last one was, oh, we're going to leave a tree here and a tree here and a tree here and a tree here and whatever, right? But this one is, we're going to leave a group of trees right here. So we have a huge clear cut area, but there's a group of trees right here we're leaving, 5 or 10 or 5 or 6 or whatever. And then over here on another plot of that land, we're going to leave another little group of trees. So instead of single trees randomly dispersed, it's little groups, little pockets of trees, okay? What that does is, as those trees are there, those trees are providing shade to the ground. So, and protection from, extreme weathering. So because there's that canopy and there's that protection, the seedlings, right? So now they're replanting seeds for trees in these areas. The seedlings are more protected by those older trees with more shade and stuff like that. They're protected from the heat. They're protected from excess water, because seedlings are very delicate until they take root. So that's one way to keep them a little bit happier. So you can clear cut everything. If you're in a forest that grows from its own stumps, like a redwood, if you're not in a redwood forest, you can cut most everything down and leave a tree here or there to reseed the area naturally. And you can also do this shelter wood, which is leaving groups of trees, right? So when you replant the seeds, those delicate seeds are protected. Also on slide 6, you see something called group selection. This is when selective cutting removes individual trees in a cycle. So this is like a cycle, okay? Large trees are cut, smaller trees are left standing to reseed the area. When the small trees have grown up, they're cut, and those seeds have grown to little trees, and they're left so they can reseed the area. So the little trees, the medium-sized trees, and the small trees, the newer trees, are constantly reseeding the area, while once they get to a certain size, they're cut down. Now, lumber, this is why we're doing this for lumber and such. You need these big old trees to get the most lumber out of a tree. When you clear cut, you're not only clear cutting the good lumber trees, but you're cutting everything. So even the trees that haven't matured yet and really you don't get much lumber out of them, you're cutting those too when you clear cut. So this is a way to sort of cycle it up and just always be cutting the wood that's good for lumber. It's much more efficient. All right. When I think of group selection, I think of Christmas tree farms. If you've ever seen a Christmas tree farm, if you ever go to a Christmas tree farm, you'll see that there are Christmas trees in every single stage of life. You'll see real mature ones that are ready to be cut down. You'll see ones that look like they'll be ready in a year or two. You see ones that are babies. You see open fields that they have little seedlings popping up. Because if you own a Christmas tree farm, you need to have trees ready almost every year so you can keep making money, right? When those mature trees are grown, they cut them down, they sell them, and boom. And then next year, hopefully those ones that were almost, so there's a cycle there, right? That's what group selection is on a much larger scale. Group selection is when you say, okay, let's go into this forest and let's just cut down these big trees that are usable. We'll let the little trees reseed the area and get bigger and more mature, and then we'll cut them down, right? So that's the way group selection is. And then on slide 7, there's one more, and this is called single tree selection. Again, just like it says, it's when you strategically remove individual trees of different sizes, and that helps to maintain diversity. It's also a harvesting technique that is used in protected areas like a lake protection zone or wildlife protected habitat. So what this is, all right, you went from one extreme. All right, we're walking in and we're going to cut down this whole 2-acre plot, everything in it, let it regrow. Then there was, okay, we're going to cut most of it down and leave 1 or 2. Then there was, okay, we're going to cut most of it down, but we're going to leave pockets to provide shade and shelter, right, of trees. And then there was the group where it was like, okay, we're going to recycle and we're just going to be cutting down the older trees and we're going to cut it, right? So single tree selection is when you walk into a forest and you look around and you say, okay, that tree over there is good, ready to go. So they'll cut it down. That tree over there is good, so we'll cut it down. That tree looks like it's getting in the way and looks like it's dying or looks like it's not good for an individual species or something, so we're going to cut that down. So when you go in and you literally look at every tree and you make decisions on which ones are coming down for whatever reason. And they do that in protected zones because in a protected wildlife habitat, you can't walk in and cut down all the trees except 5. Right, you're going to displace all these animals, and they're there because they're being protected for some reason. So you have to carefully select trees. Right, I went to a park once with my son, and we went hiking, and we were walking down the hiking trail. There were these marks on the trees, not the trail markers. Trail markers are like spray painted things on a tree that tells you, where to go to follow the trail. These were like X's, and they were at the bottom of the tree. And he's like, "What is that?" And it took me a second to figure it out. But those were trees that were marked for cutting down. Okay? So some of those trees bent over into the trail. Some of those trees were older. Whatever determination they made, they were marking trees, and we saw 5 or 6 of them on our hike. That's because they were selectively they were doing a single tree selection for that environment. All right, so that's what single tree is. Slide 8. All right. So in 1905, not sure if you need to know the date, but in 1905, there was something called the Forest Service, right? And the Forest Service is part of the Department of Agriculture, of course. Now, the Forest Service is who manages public lands and national forests and grasslands. So all in the Midwest, our grasslands, our public lands, our public national forests, stuff like that. The Forest Service are the ones who manage that. And that's where you see forest rangers, right? Park rangers, they're all part of this Forest Service. First guy to do it was Gifford Pinchot. Don't think you need to know his name, not sure. He came up with he was the first chief of the Forest Service. And he has a quote, which makes sense, to provide the greatest amount of good for the greatest amount of people in the long run. So this, what he's talking about, is sustainability, right? We're trying to provide the greatest amount of good. We're trying to be as responsible as possible so we can sustain the environment for the greatest amount of people for the longest amount of time. And so that's what sustainability is, doing things the right way, doing things responsibly. So that's the Forest Service agency. Slide 9. Slide 9 is a map. You can see where most of our national forests and grasslands are on this map. So I'll let you check that out. You'll see the Pacific Northwest. You'll see down the Appalachian Mountain Range. And then you'll see in the middle of the country where our grasslands mostly are. If you put all of these national forests and grasslands into one section, it is about 193 million acres, and it's about the size of Texas, which is huge. So a lot of our country is comprised of these grasslands and these national forests, all right? And the Forest Service is who is in charge of protecting these areas and managing these areas, right? And management counts, it's not just which trees we have to cut and make lumber and this and that. It's, okay, when we're going to cut here, we're going to displace wildlife. Let's make sure that the wildlife has some place to go, right? Humans, you have these national parks, these awesome places to go and to camp and recreation. They're also in charge of managing us and making sure that we're doing the right thing and that we're not stepping. When I go hiking in the Adirondacks, a lot of the mountains are very high. Once you get over 4,000 feet, the vegetation, all the vegetation is protected. It's very, very fragile. If you step on like the moss, you kill it. And it's not going to come back. So it's a very protected area. So once you get over 4,000 feet, you're not allowed to camp over 4,000 feet. You're not allowed to step on any kind of vegetation. You have to stick to the trail, and you'll see signs everywhere. So, the forest management, the forest rangers and stuff like that, those are the ones that manage all this stuff to make sure that we have all this stuff for many, many years. And then slide 10 is what you are doing. Slide 10 is that video that you've been watching during the slideshow. So over the last couple of slideshows, you've been watching the YouTube video that's called Survivors of the Firestorm. And you are watching, the link is in the speaker notes again, if you don't remember where it was on YouTube. You are watching minute 16 to minute 36 this time. All right. So you're watching the mid-range of it. I think there's one more shot. The next slideshow for forest fires, I think you're watching 36 to the end. So this is sort of the middle of the movie, and it's talking about how they manage forests, okay? How they manage different types of forests. So it won't necessarily talk about the redwoods, but it'll talk about other places. You are watching minute 16 to 36, and then you are going to slide 11, which is the question you're answering based on that movie. So when you look at slide 11, on the right-hand side there, you see the 5 different topics, or the 5 different, I keep forgetting the word I'm trying to use here, the 5 different methods to manage a forest, and the ones that those were all in the slides. And then the question says, which forest management strategy, which one of these 5, most mimics the natural regeneration for the trees shown in the video segment? So one of those trees that they show in the video segment is the eucalyptus trees. So for the eucalyptus trees, answer that question and explain why. And then number 2, for the mountain ash trees, you're going to make sure you're listening to that part of the video, and you're going to answer that question of which one mimics the natural regeneration, and you're going to explain why. All right. So for each of those, the eucalyptus tree and the mountain ash tree, when you watch the video, you're going to get an idea of, oh, this sounds like clear cutting. This sounds like seed treeing. This sounds like group selection. So you're going to decide which one it closely mimics, and you're going to explain why you feel that way, which would basically be the definition of whichever one you chose, right? You're going to answer it right here on the speaker slides, and then you are done. So you're looking at the slides. You're watching a 16-minute clip of that video, the Firestorm video we've been watching, and you are answering this one simple question with each of these trees. So it's like a part A and a part B for eucalyptus and mountain ash. That is all I got. The next time you log on to my classroom, which is when? Today's Thursday, so I think it's Tuesday, you will get an ed puzzle. And you will do that ed puzzle, and it'll be graded. Keep on keeping on. Keep on doing your thing. Keep on staying safe. Miss you guys. We're going to try to figure out some way to get together, right? Before you go out into the world. Stay safe. Talk to you soon.